All right, hi everyone, and welcome to this Google Plus Hangout about Google Shopping, specifically getting started with product listing ads. We're really excited to be with you here today, myself and my colleague Chris. My name is Nicole Primo, and I'm a Partner Education Manager at Google. This means that I work on making sure the information people like you need to get started with products like shopping is out there and available to you.
And hey guys, my name's Chris Izaldi, and I've been working on Google Shopping for about 6 years, and I'm excited to talk to you all about Google Shopping and how to get started today.
Great. So in this Hangout, we'll be covering some key information basically about what you need to know to use product listing ads. So afterwards, we'll be doing our Q&A in the North America Partners community. So make sure you post your questions throughout the content as they come up for you using the hashtag #AskTheExpert. So again, post your questions using hashtag #AskTheExpert, and we'll answer them right away.
And it's Ask the Expert. I got a little confused. I thought it was plural, but I guess there's only one expert here.
There's only one expert. That's Chris. So we'll let him answer all the questions.
All right. Thanks, Nicole.
So before we dive in, I'd like to give you a quick recap of what we talked about the last time we were together in our Hangout for Google Partners. So basically, in a nutshell, online and offline shopping experiences are coming together in today's multi-screen world. With access to information at their fingertips at basically any time, anywhere, shoppers are looking for new ways to research the products they're interested in and are also demanding multiple purchase options. So retailers need to find new ways to fulfill the goals that they've always had and probably always will. So these goals are things like growing revenue, increasing traffic, all the while maintaining margins and building customer loyalty. So in other words, retailers today need to leverage new advertising strategies that can help them effectively engage with their evolving customer set. So these strategies meet the challenges presented by today's changing shopping world by connecting customers across all devices. They use data to target the right product to the right customer, and they help retailers differentiate themselves. So retailers can engage with customers in a way that tells them why they should be purchasing from that particular retailer. And, as you might have guessed from the title of this Hangout, Google Shopping is one of these methods that helps retailers get set up for success in today's changing shopping world. So Google Shopping has the traffic with millions of people starting their shopping journey on Google every single day. We have the targeting and the data to get the products in front of the customers that are looking for them. And in addition to helping you capture online traffic and sales, we can even help drive customers to your store locations. And ultimately, Google has the technology to help you find the customers that are looking for your products. I can't say that enough because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Google Shopping is that multi-screen experience, so we can reach shoppers wherever they're searching. We can help you target the right customer segments, and we can give you the tools and the data you need to optimize and manage your performance according to your return on investment goals. What this all boils down to, as complex as it sometimes sounds, is actually pretty simple. People start their shopping journey by going to google.com and asking for what they're looking for, perhaps a particular product. Google then helps surface the products that we think that particular customer might be interested in. We then give them the ability to compare prices and to actually find the right store and the right retailer where they want to make that purchase. And then ultimately, the original search query culminates in a purchase, which is great for the shopper. They find what they're looking for, and it's great for the retailer who gets to grow their revenue from purchases like these. So here's what this looks like in action on the Google search results page. Based on the query men's road bikes, like we see in this example, we see several product listing ads, or PLAs, and you can think of those almost as the engine of Google Shopping. Basically, each product listing ad provides product information like titles, prices, and even the retailer's name. They do this all in that really attractive, engaging, image-rich ad format. So the result is that because shoppers have key pieces of information before they ever get to your website, they're really high quality leads because they've done kind of a little bit of mini shopping in that search results page alone. And in addition to product listing ads on Google.com, like you see on the left here, product listing ads also are the engine of Google.com/shopping, sometimes called the Google Shopping property or the Google Shopping site. Basically, this is a comparison site where shoppers have additional filters and sorting criteria so that they can kind of research and engage and compare across additional products to really find that exact product that they're looking for. And of course, we mentioned how important that multi-screen, multi-device experience is becoming in the shopping journey. So, of course, Google Shopping is optimized for mobile devices. On the left, you can see mobile product listing ads optimized for those Google.com search results pages. And on the right, you can see mobile optimized product listing ads on Google.com/shopping. Again, both of these experiences allow those on-the-go shoppers to easily search, find, compare, and ultimately select the product they're looking for on the go and on their mobile devices. So here's roughly what that implementation process looks like for getting started with your product listing ads and getting your products up on Google Shopping. To start, you'll do the work of translating your product inventory into something called a data feed. Essentially, that data feed is the list of all of the products you have and key details about them, again, like price, title, image, and even link to the page where somebody can make a purchase. From there, you take that data feed and you upload it into Merchant Center, which is a free Google account that houses all of your product information. That Merchant Center account gets linked to your AdWords account, and those of you running other ad formats are probably already familiar with this piece. But for those of you who are just getting started, AdWords is essentially the advertising account where you'll manage your campaigns, budgets, bids, and targeting. So really, that's it. That fairly simple process where you take your product inventory and it gets translated through a couple of steps into product listing ads on Google. So we've covered the overview. Hopefully by now you have a good sense of how product listing ads and Google Shopping help you take on the challenges of today's shopping world. And of course, there's more details in terms of how you'll actually need to get started. So for that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Chris.
All right, thanks for that, Nicole. That was very helpful. So we're quickly going to go over the steps that it takes to set up your Merchant Center account. I'm going to cover verifying and claiming your website URL. I'll show you how to create a products data feed. We'll go over what kinds of product data feeds you can create. We'll show you how to register a data feed in your Merchant Center account, upload your data feed, and then we'll just quickly look at linking your Merchant Center account to your AdWords account. Hopefully most of this is straightforward and there won't be too many questions, but there are a couple areas where I'll stop and dive in a little bit because there are some areas where we see merchants make mistakes, and I just want to make sure that we avoid those. So if you've never logged into Google Merchant Center, this is where you're going to do it. This is what you'll see when you first go to Merchant Center to log in. You'll be presented with a page where you can sign in. Now, if you have an existing Google account, you can go ahead and use that existing Google account if that's what you want to use. If you don't have an existing Google account, you can go ahead and create a Google account right here. We'll take some basic information from you and get you set up, and then you can move on and start using Google Merchant Center. One thing to keep in mind with your Merchant Center account, if you're going to be sharing it with a few people in your company, maybe with your clients, and also maybe with people that use AdWords, you might want to choose an account that you're okay, comfortable sharing the password with. So you might want to use a company Google account that everyone can log into and access, so that everyone has access to Merchant Center. That's one way to do it that keeps it easy. Of course, in Merchant Center, there is the ability to add additional logins, so that would be another way to do it, is just add other users that you want to give access to your Merchant Center account. So once you've created your Google Merchant Center, once you've created your Google Merchant Center account, you'll go to the settings page. That'll be the first place you're taken to while you're setting up your account. We'll ask some really basic information like your store name, your contact email address, and a few other things. But there's one area that there's one piece of data that we ask for that is very critical, and this is the domain of the website that you're going to submit products for. So if you're setting this up for your clients, it would be your client's domain. So that's pretty easy, and then once you click Save, you'll see that there's actually one more step to this, though. You actually have to verify ownership of this domain. So typically, I'm used to talking directly to merchants, so I would tell them then that they should go verify their domain in Webmaster Tools. But since we're talking here with agencies and others that are helping clients manage their feeds, you're going to have to work with your clients to verify the domain because you may not have the ability to do that. So there's a few ways that you can do this. And I'm going to just look at the first one. This one is you're going to go into Webmaster Tools, and you're going to determine who is the owner for that domain. Now, your client should know. They should have a Webmaster Tools account. They should know who the owner for that domain is in Webmaster Tools. Once you know that, you can take that owner's email address and put it in Merchant Center. What that will do is create a link between Merchant Center and Webmaster Tools that will allow you to verify the ownership of the domain and claim it in Merchant Center. Basically, the way that verification works is a shared email address between Webmaster Tools and Google Merchant Center. So if you know the owner's email address in Webmaster Tools, you can add that to your Merchant Center account. Alternatively, if you want to, you can add the Merchant Center login to the Webmaster Tools account as an owner in Webmaster Tools. This, again, will create that link of ownership between the two accounts. Now, if the client or if you don't have a Webmaster Tools account for this domain, you're going to have to go ahead and verify the ownership of this domain. When you go to Webmaster Tools, you'll see that there's a few different ways to do this. Some are very straightforward, and it's fairly easy to do. And these options include adding a tag to your site, uploading a file to your website so that we can come see that you have the ability to edit this website. Additionally, you can also log in with your Google Analytics account for that domain if you've already claimed ownership in Google Analytics. So this is just an area that I wanted to dive into a little bit because this is an area we do see merchants sort of get hung up and have questions about. So if you take one thing away from this, it's just understand that verification happens when the email address in Webmaster Tools matches the email address in Merchant Center. Once you've gone through the process of setting up your account and verifying and claiming your domain, the next step is to create your product's data feed. Now this might sound, if you've never done this, this might sound a little complex or a little confusing, and you might wonder, where am I going to get all this data? In most cases, the client already has this data on their website, and it's already visible for you to see that you can start pulling it from their website. So here's an example of a typical website where we're showing the information that we would need. So you can see many websites show the product type right on the item pages. So here we have bikes, road bikes, men's bikes. So this is the product type information that we would want you to submit in your data feed. And then here's an example of an image and the additional images that we'd also want you to submit. And then you can also see that we want you to give us the product titles, the color, description. All of this information is the kind of information that's typically always displayed on your client's site. Now, one thing to keep in mind is for the description, we always want those really rich descriptions. So I do see clients that give us just like a small snippet or the first sentence of a description. But our recommendation is always to give us the longest description that you have so that we can help match your products to users' queries. So that's looking at the website, but just looking at the actual data that we require, here's a list of the required attributes in the US. So many of these are straightforward. In fact, I think most of these are straightforward. I think maybe the one that does give first-time users a little confusion is the Google product category. So this one is a predefined category by Google, by us. So we've taken all the products in the world and we've created a taxonomy of all these products. And we ask that you take the products you're submitting and map them back to our taxonomy or to our list of all the product types. So that's probably the one that causes the most confusion, and the rest are pretty straightforward. One area I would stress is that I would say is very important is to get those GTINs and MPNs in your data feed. So What is a GTIN? You may be more familiar with this as UPC. Most people know the barcodes that are on products, but yeah, so UPC is one of them. MPN is another one. For books, it's ISBN. These are these identifying numbers that tell us what this product is. Again, this helps us, giving us this information helps us match your products to users' queries because we're more confident what that product is. So once you know all the data you have to give us, your next option is to determine how are you going to format your data. So there's two main ways to do it. You can give us a text file or you can give us an XML file. Not listed here, and we're not going to cover it, but I just want to mention it just so you know all of your options. We also allow merchants to submit their content via API. Submitting content via the API is a bit more technical, so I'm not going to cover that in this presentation, but we have a great developer's guide on using our API, the content API, that you can get to through our Help Center. There's another option also not listed here that I'll just briefly mention. So we also allow you to submit your content via a Google spreadsheet. You can enter your information in the Google spreadsheet and submit that to Google Merchant Center. Again, I'm not going to cover that here, but that is all covered in our Help Center as well. But looking back at what we are going to go over, so we have the text option and the XML option. Looking at the text option first, this is I would say, this is the one that I would recommend. If a merchant was asking me which option should I take, I would always recommend the text option. It's the easiest one to create. You really only need to know how to use a spreadsheet. It's a great way to view all the products in the file. You can quickly look through all the products you're submitting. Again, it's good for beginners, and it accommodates large inventories very well. The only drawback to this format is that if you make a formatting error in maybe the header row of the file or in some area of the file, that error can propagate through the feed and can cause a lot of errors with all the products in the file. So it is a little bit more brittle. It's subject to a little bit more failure than XML. But why wouldn't I recommend the XML? The XML is just a bit more complex. So if you look at it, the main users of XML are merchants or clients that have a website that actually generates an XML file for them. So many websites will allow you to download your product inventory in an XML format. If you have a site like that, or if your client has a site like that, then I would definitely recommend taking that option. But again, XML is just a little bit more complex and requires an understanding of XML coding. XML is not as susceptible to the failures that you can see with text files. So when text files, when you make that formatting error, it can propagate through the file. That does not happen with XML. So you can have an error in one of your items, and the next item will process just fine. Another caveat I would say about XML files is they're great up to a couple 100,000 items, but beyond that, they start to get a little big and harder to work with. So that's, again, another reason I would prefer text files. So if you're creating a text file, it looks like we actually covered most of these. So let me skip ahead and go into what it looks like when you're creating a products feed. So this is just an example of how it would look like if you're creating a text file. So you can see here the very first column, or the very first row highlighted in green, are the attributes. And so if you remember the attributes that we were looking at before, these are the required attributes for the US, and this is the data we need. So you can see ID, title, description, price, link, etc. running across the top. So this is how all text files will look. There'll be the attributes running across the top. And then in each row below that header row, you'll put the corresponding information for each product. So here you can see that we have the Tour de France legacy bike, and so on and so forth, and then the description, the price, the link, etc. And so this is what it would look like when you're working to create a text file. You would then save this file as a TXT file, tab-delimited TXT file, and submit this to Google Merchant Center. And how would you submit this to Google Merchant Center? Well, you have a couple different ways, but the first thing you have to do is register your data feed. So before you can submit a feed to Merchant Center, you have to register it. You have to tell us that it's coming. We have to know to expect it. This is a very simple step. So you go into your account. You can see here on the screen, there's this button here on the Data Feeds tab that says New Data Feed. So you click that button, and you can register your data feed. And here's what you'll see once you click that button. you'll choose your target country, and then you'll give a file name. One thing just to note on this target country, so Merchant Center allows you to submit PLAs for multiple countries. So if your client has the same domain in multiple countries, well, first of all, if your client sells in multiple countries and then uses the same domain in multiple countries, you can use the same Merchant Center account to submit feeds for all of those countries. So for example, if I wanted to submit a feed for Canada and a feed for the United States, I could do that right here. I would just register 2 different data feeds, one targeting the United States and one targeting Canada. Now, if they use different domains, say for the Canada account they use .ca and for the US account they use .com, then you would need to use 2 different Merchant Center accounts. Basically, a Merchant Center account can only have 1 domain. Once you register your feed, it's time to upload it. If you want to just test or just get an initial upload going, I'd recommend the manual upload option. The drawback or the one limit on this is that the file has to be less than 20 megabytes. But it's great for testing one-off uploads. And on the screen, if you can see in the screenshot here, you can see that button that says New Test Data Feed. So it's also great. The manual upload option is also great for using test data feeds. And test data feeds allow you to submit a data feed and download all of the errors with that data feed. So it's a great way if you're creating your first data feed to submit it and then get a file with all of the errors. And to do that, you would just register a new test data feed, follow the feed setup method as normal, and then do a manual upload of the feed that you want to submit. Once it's processed, there'll be a link where you can click to see your errors, and then there'll be a link to download all of the errors with the file. I highly recommend this using a test data feed. I feel like many merchants don't realize this exists, and it's a great way to get started using data feeds and getting rid of any errors before you submit your actual data feed. Now, manual upload's great for when you're testing or you want to get your initial one started, but I wouldn't say it's a sustainable way to use Merchant Center. You really want to, the next step is really to create an automated process for submitting your data feed. So this first one we're looking at here is the scheduled upload option. And it's probably the easiest. I'd say this is the one that I see most merchants choosing to use recently. It's just a great way to set up an automatic upload of your file daily. So what you would do is after you've registered your data feed, you'd click that Create a Schedule in that first screenshot where we see Create a Schedule. And then you'd be given the option to tell us how often to pick it up. So you can do it monthly, weekly, daily. I would recommend daily. We want fresh data. And you don't want to do monthly because then if something happens with your file, your items could expire. So I would definitely recommend daily, and if not daily, then at least weekly. So in that second screenshot too, or in that second step, you tell us when to pick it up. The other thing you tell us is where's your file. So with the fetch option, you're telling us to come get a file at a specific location. Typically, this is a URL on the merchant's address. So it's exampledomain.com/mydatafeedfile.txt. You tell us where that is. We come to pick it up at the schedule you set. Now, if you want to password protect that file, you can do that as well. And so you can then tell us the username and password for that URL so that we can access it. Again, I think this is probably the most popular method of upload that I've been seeing merchants use. The previous most popular method was this FTP upload. This was the original upload method for Merchant Center, so I still do see a lot of merchants using this one. I would say this is a great method if you're comfortable with FTP and you're comfortable with automating FTP uploads. This is a great method to schedule uploads. This one's a little bit better than the scheduled fetch because you can actually upload more than once per day. So scheduled fetch has a limit of uploading once per day. FTP upload, you can upload multiple times a day. We encourage you to not upload more than 3 times per day, though, because it can actually, if you upload more frequently than that, you can run into some processing delays. So with FTP, how do you use it? In your settings, in your Merchant Center settings, you'll see a link for the FTP account. Under settings, it'll say FTP. You'll click the link, and then you'll tell us the username and the password that you want to use when you connect to our FTP server. Once you've set that up, you'll connect to our FTP server in whichever way you're most comfortable. Lots of clients use third-party clients to upload, so there's a lot of third-party clients out there that allow you to submit FTP and set up automated FTP uploads. Or if you're more comfortable using the command line, you can use the command line in Mac, Windows, and other operating systems. You can submit via the command line. Again, what you need to know is where our FTP server is, and it's at uploads.google.com. And then the login information is the information that you set up in your Merchant Center account. After you set up FTP, the final step to getting started is setting up your AdWords account or linking your AdWords account to Merchant Center. So if you don't have an AdWords account, you can actually create one through the Merchant Center, and you can see that here in this on the first bullet, or the top of the screenshot here where there's the one. You can get started with creating your AdWords account. If you have an existing AdWords account, you can go ahead and link it in the bottom part of that page. And then once you link it, you can then begin to start setting up your campaigns in AdWords.
Great. So thanks so much, Chris. That's a great overview of the step-by-step, the details for actually getting in there and setting up that Merchant Center account. So before we kind of let you off the hook, I do want to share a couple more best practices that you'll need to know for when you're thinking about editing your feeds or updating items. So there are three main situations that you'll probably encounter, and you'll notice that each of them is dealt with similarly in terms of how you restructure or how you edit your data feed to accommodate those changes. So the first scenario let's go through is actually removing a product. So let's say the merchant or the retailer no longer sells that product, has no interest in advertising it. All you need to do is go into the data feed and identify where that product is, whether it's in that .txt as a row or in the XML version, and simply remove it. Leave everything else the same, and then re-upload the data feed. So essentially what we'll do at that point is we'll scan for changes, we'll realize that that product is no longer there, and we'll not show it as a product listing ad. So another similar circumstance is when you want to update an item. So let's say that the price changes, or the availability changes, or maybe you just want to make some title improvements. Once again, find that item in your data feed, make the changes you'd like to make, and then once again, re-upload the feed once your changes are finalized. At this point, we'll look for those changes and we'll accommodate and adjust accordingly. So one thing that's not on this slide that I'll just touch on that's kind of like updating a product, let's say something goes out of stock, or you just want to temporarily pause it, or maybe there's like a seasonality issue where it's a Christmas item and you don't want it to be showing in March or April. To simply kind of pause an item that you anticipate you will want to use in the future, you can use the availability attribute. So you would change that availability attribute to out of stock, and by setting it as out of stock, Google will see that it's not worth kind of showing as a product because it's not actually available. So once again, once you change that product's availability to out of stock, you would re-upload your feed, and it would still be in the feed, but it wouldn't be shown as a product listing ad. Last point here, adding a product. You probably know the process by now. I warned you it was pretty similar across all of these actions. Essentially, to add a product, add that product into your feed, re-upload it. We'll look for the new stuff and get it up and running. So the good news is that you have a lot of support that you can use as you're trying to get your product listing ads up and running, and then on an ongoing basis in case you run into errors or issues, or you simply want some tips for improving your performance. And almost all of these, if not all of them, are housed in the Merchant Center Help Center. So we're going to point you to three particular articles here: the Merchant Center Getting Started Guide, the Data Feed Creation Guide, and the Feed Specifications and Requirements Guide or article. All of those are listed here, but again, more generally, I encourage you to check out that Merchant Center Help Center and just kind of browse. It's a great searchable database of a ton of great information for any issue or potential requests that you might have. So we do have another upcoming session on AdWords product targets and optimization for product listing ads. That's on February 6th. We're not sure exactly of the time yet, but do keep an eye on your partners community, and we will be happy to join you back at that time. And as a quick reminder, we're doing the Q&A through the North American Partners community. So please post your questions with the hashtag #AskTheExpert, singular, like Chris reminded us earlier. Again, post your questions, hashtag #AskTheExpert, and we'll be on there to make sure we get responses to everything you need to know.
Thank you everyone for attending. It was great to be able to share this information with you guys, and I look forward to your questions.
Thanks, everyone.